In the world of gaming, there may not be a brand more ubiquitous than Fortnite. With an average of over 230 million players a month, this free-to-play juggernaut has maintained a healthy following despite all the best efforts of their competitors to disrupt their stranglehold on the marketplace. From direct competitors like Apex Legends and Valorant to major titles like Call of Duty and Halo Infinite, converting to a similar free-to-play model, Fortnite has been fighting furiously for their part of the market share against a growing list of names that are only growing larger and more determined than ever to take their crown.
But in a surprising twist, the parent company of Fortnite has unfortunately been forced to undergo a massive round of layoffs to stabilize their business, not because of the damage being done by their competition, but from self-inflicted wounds.
And a lot of companies are enduring this, but Epic Games, the developers of Fortnite, had to make a sad announcement over the winter that they were liquidating over 800 employees and their positions. While news of layoffs is something we're unfortunately growing accustomed to seeing across a multitude of employment sectors, it's the reason for the staff reduction that's most surprising. Fortnite isn't struggling to draw users. They're still drawing tremendous player numbers daily and generating billions of dollars in revenue. But in the memo openly shared on Epic Games' website by their CEO, Tim Sweeney, the downsizing decision was made due to an increase in participation in creator-generated content. Ironically, the more that people are engaging in the creator content options that Fortnite has introduced, the less money Epic Games is making off of their core products due to the different profit margins for them. Simply put, the revenue sharing decision that allowed users like you and me to create and monetize content within Fortnite is incredibly successful. But that success is coming at the expense of cannibalizing their own, more financially lucrative content.
What was intended as a supplemental experience to add users and increase participation has actually become an internal parasite of their own making. Creator-based content is overtaking the sandbox that Fortnite built and causing Epic Games to become a victim of their own design.
Fortnite has done to themselves what Call of Duty, Apex, Overwatch, Halo combined couldn't do. And that's a feeling I'm unfortunately all too familiar with. In my most honest and desperate moments, I am fiercely aware of my status as a disgustingly unworthy sinner, saved by the Lord's amazing grace, and hyper-dependent on Him for every aspect of my life. But there's also a dark part of me that, if left unchecked, will slowly allow any amount of success that I experience in life to transform into an adrenaline rush of victory that goes straight to my head. Now, that may come as a bit of a shocking statement to those who know me personally, because I've always been pretty open about my struggles with low self-esteem. It may seem paradoxical for feelings of limited self-worth to coexist with the challenge of pride, but these are not opposing concepts.
As a matter of fact, while this isn't a scriptural source, and we rarely quote from fictional, non-biblical sources,
Not usually a good idea.
it was actually Uncle Iroh from Avatar who said it best when he shared this nugget of wisdom. Pride is not the opposite of shame, but its source. True humility is the only antidote to shame.
And scripturally, pride and shame typically exist in direct correlation to each other, and humility is the only cure, as we see in Proverbs 11:2, where it says, "When pride comes, then comes shame. But with the humble is wisdom." So let me give you a taste of how this internal monologue finds a way to manifest itself in my mindset. Maybe you can relate to it as well. I'll pray for the Lord's guidance and blessing in my life in a particular area, and in His infinite grace, He sees fit to answer some of these prayers. For a little while, there's this beautiful balance of appreciation and gratitude as the Father showers me with His undeserved favor. But then, the parasite of pride starts to worm its way into my thoughts. Sure, the Lord is blessing my path, but I was the one that did all the practicing, the preparing, the organizing, and actually performed the work. Yes, He opened the doors for me, but I obediently walked through them and did what He said to do.
As soon as a work or personal accomplishment is achieved, the sin of pride rears its ugly head in an attempt to share a portion of the credit for something that was gifted to me from the Father. An enemy within that seeks to invisibly grow inside of me and receive part of that glory that is due to God alone.
This parasite of pride lies dormant and undetected inside. until it experiences the sweet taste of an accolade. Once it gets started, this insatiable thirst for recognition becomes a parasitic vortex that destroys its host as it devours all of the free gifts that it was showered with and acts as if they were earned. But this battle should not be surprising to me or any of us, because pride is the original sin. Ezekiel 28 and the Bible documents the fatal fall of Lucifer and details the reason behind his rebellion against God.
While this passage is directed at the king of Tyre, it is clear through both the context as well as the content that this is referring to Satan. This being is described as the anointed cherub, the covering cherub, and was present in Eden. And based on the rest of the descriptions provided, this was no mere mortal.
And when combined with the Luciferic passages in Isaiah 14, a clear understanding of how and why sin entered the universe is fully revealed. A sad reality is that Lucifer was singled out by the Lord for incredible, undeserved, unearned blessings and a place of prominence, but his response to these gifts mutated into a disgusting display of pride. And while I've never thought to myself that I'll exalt my throne above the stars of God, because I don't even have a throne, and well, unless you count the toilet, I have to confess that the sin of pride has burrowed its way into my way of thinking far too many times in my life. I've never thought to myself that I deserve to stand anywhere near the presence of the Lord, but I have absolutely allowed myself to enjoy credit for his gifts and blessings that I merely received and displayed. And as the Lord has made it abundantly clear, he will not give or share his glory with any part of his creation, nor should he.
Here's the challenge that we all must reconcile. Just as Epic Games failed to recognize the cannibalization of their core Fortnite business by an internal competitor of their own design, we can easily become sabotaged from within by our own success.
We can all become the architects of our own demise simply by taking any amount of the credit or glory for the good things in our lives that only exist by the grace of God. False humility or low self-esteem are poor and unhealthy replacements for the only true solution to this pride predicament. The answer is not to think less of ourselves as handcrafted creations of our loving Father, but to fully and authentically give the glory and praise to the Lord as the giver of all good things in everything we receive, from our smallest achievements to our largest accolades.
The truth about each of us is that there is nothing inherently good within us, and any gifts we possess or outcomes we are able to generate are owed to the unearned blessings and unmerited favor we have received from the Lord. But if we fail to recognize and address the parasite of pride that seeks to take any portion of the credit for the victories we experience in life that is rightfully due to the Lord, it will erode us from the inside and place us in the direct opposition with the very God who created us.
Pride doesn't always look the way we expect. Pride doesn't necessarily reveal itself with giant pictures of ourselves hung on the walls or certificates of achievement and trophies adorning every inch of our living spaces. Boisterous words bragging about how amazing we are as we share unsolicited details about the most recent marathon that we ran. You know who you are. Sometimes it shows up in people with limited self-esteem, like me, when we simply allow the thought to exist unchallenged that we accomplished anything on our own. As I found far too many times, the moment that I start placing my confidence in myself or the gifts that were given to me by the Lord, I am mere footsteps away from a fall of my own prideful doing. The very beginning of a thought that begins with the words, "I did," places me in a dangerously similar position to that of Lucifer, who allowed his own unchecked internal monologue about the gifts that he received graduate from pride to the fatal sin of blasphemy.
As Fortnite found out the hard way, it is the enemy within that is the most dangerous, the unrecognized parasite hidden inside of their apparent triumphs. For many of us, the original sin of pride may be the internal disease that threatens to gorge on our success and cannibalize our victories, but true humility is the cure.
Not a humility born of false modesty or a negative self-image, but from an appreciative and grateful heart towards the Lord that joyfully gives all the glory and praise to Him for every good thing we experience down here, from the smallest to the largest.
Humility is not an affliction we apply to ourselves to weaken the temptation of pride. It is a mindset we intentionally clothe ourselves with to reflect every affirmation or accolade up to the one who gives us both our value and our purpose. us.
And if we will consciously choose to take up the mind of Christ and make ourselves of no reputation, we truly offer ourselves up as a servant with the gifts that God has given us, then He will lift us up. Not so we can receive or share in any part of His glory, but so that His light that is shining through us will draw more people to Him.